Hello Internet, and welcome to the show, Do You Physics? Today we're going to be discussing living furnaces the size of a Boeing 747, the revolving door in hell, and the dawn of the Chickenosaurus. I'm HamsterBomb, joined today by Matt, and of course, we're talking about creating monsters.
The Chickensaurus.
The Chickenosaurus. I can't wait to talk about the
I'm excited about that.
I am not making that up, by the way.
Oh, I know you're not.
That is totally a real thing. Like, that is actually happening.
Not making that up.
So, basically, the big inspiration for this episode today is we really wanted to talk about something Monster Hunter related. And there's something that's just so cool and fun and natural about the game Monster Hunter. Or really, anything in general where you see just giant monsters, like you mentioned before, this Godzilla, just something that where, you know, you just see
it's a fascination.
It's so cool, and, you know, I know it's devastating and it would be terrible, but...
if you can control it.
But it'd be really cool.
For 2 seconds, you know, you'd sit there and be like, wow, this is amazing, and then you realize the skyscraper's falling on top of you, but for those 2 seconds, it was cool.
That'd be the coolest 2 seconds ever.
Exactly.
So,
you die in an amazing way.
Yeah, I'd be like, worth it! So, anyway, we're going to be talking about basically how those kind of creatures either could or could not exist. Before we started this episode, both Matt and I did different forms of research and did not discuss what we were going to be talking with each other to make sure that we're getting true, genuine questions out of this, to make sure that we are really getting to the meat, do not make a pun, of the real problem of how do you create these monsters, for one, and then secondly, could they even exist? Could they even stand? Could they fly?
What problems would you have to fight?
Exactly. So, for our main example, we wanted to make sure we centered around one creature in particular. You don't need to be familiar with the series Monster Hunter in order to know what we're talking about. We're going to be looking at Rathalos, who is a wyvern. He's technically not a dragon.
Yep.
The only real difference is a dragon, just in case you guys are curious, has 4 legs like a dog or a deer or a cow, and additionally, it has wings.
Yep.
So, the wyvern has 2 legs, 2 back legs, and wings, which is actually much more feasible.
Right.
If we're talking,
it's a lot easier. Like, I could, later in discussion, I can argue how you can make a dragon.
Yes.
But it's much easier for a wyvern.
Yes, wyvern is so much easier because we actually have things through evolution that has evolved to use 2 sets of 2 limbs. And we don't really have many things that operate with the 3, and the ones that do, like, they're not related to this. It would be so... it'd be so backwards to try and construct it.
Right.
It'd be crazy.
It wouldn't be worth it.
So, basically, Rathalos is a wyvern, like we just said, a 2-legged, 2-winged, dragon-esque flying creature. It's covered in scales, very tough hide, can fly, is very large, and I know you were digging into exact sizes, because fortunately, Monster Hunter tells us exactly how large these things are.
I know.
So we can look exactly up and say, would that be able to have enough lift to even get its big fat butt off the ground?
And then magically teleport to you and claw you.
Okay, now that's the video game.
That is the video game, I'm sorry.
But
we could argue that, though.
We could try and go there. But we're also going to be saying, like, okay, could it fly, but could it also breathe fire? Could it spit fire? Because Rathalos does not only shoot balls of fire, which could arguably be some combustible thing, maybe some sort of fuel that it had stored in sacks in its mouth or something, that it just vaulted at you, and maybe something like natural flint in its mouth ignited the fire. I'm not going to try and steal too much of what your thunder might be later, but I'm just giving them, like, concepts.
Oh, no, because that's the thing. I'm using that to how it even flies.
Oh, this is going to be... Oh,
that's
man,
gonna be
you're
fun.
talking about, like, flame lift, and, like, oh, this is going to be intense.
I'll explain when we get to it, but first, let's talk about yours.
All right, so...
yours is what's interesting me.
Yes, I know. Well, I'm interested in what you're going to say, too, because we don't know. But what I'm going to be talking about is the genetics of the whole thing. We want to split this whole thing into... I looked into mostly the could we build this kind of idea, and Matt was
went for the Jurassic Park style.
Yes, like, I'm in the Jurassic Park, and Matt's more the skeptic watching Jurassic Park saying, I don't think that creature could stand.
It's like you're Hammond, and I would be who would I be? Can I be Jeff Goldblum?
Sure.
All right, I get to be Jeff Goldblum.
You can be whoever you like. Alrighty, so, anyway, yeah, we've got, multiple things that we said was on the the list of topics today, and man, I'm really interested in what on earth you're talking about with the living furnaces. But basically, yeah, what I'm going to be getting into, the two things that belong to me was the revolving door in hell and the dawn of the Chickenosaurus.
Yes, I want to know about these.
When we get to the Chickenosaurus, that's basically going to be me at the tail end of talking about genetics, and we're going to scoot on over to you, because I'm going to have to hear, could it happen? Because I'm going to be talking about the how, if possible. But first off is that revolving door in hell. What on earth am I talking about, Matt? That's just crazy. We're gonna get into...
Isn't that where Cerberus is? The three-headed puppy of doom?
Which we could... I don't know about that. I don't know if we could... That'd be gross.
Yeah, that goes against one of those you can do it, but
you could, but please don't do... Like, let's just not.
No.
So, for all the microbiologists out there, cover your ears. I'm about to botch this. But I'm gonna do my best to try and explain...
This is gonna be fun.
This, for at least the layperson. This really cool, interesting, cutting-edge technology and new science that is CRISPR. And I've mentioned this in videos past. I've mentioned this in even the Pokeball episode. This comes up all the time. CRISPR. It's so freaking interesting and cool. I cannot contain myself. And you could use it to almost do anything genetically. Almost anything. Almost anything. So basically what CRISPR is it's an acronym, and I hope they get this right. It is an acronym, and it stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats.
Of course.
I think I got that right. Yes, of course. Now I can break that down for you so when you understand what I just said.
Right.
So basically what that is describing is short bursts of genetic code. Okay. So in the DNA, we're looking at like CCATG, blah, 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 right? All those little numbers. Well, people were studying this, and long story short, eventually they started noticing these weird patterns. And there were these sections where the DNA would make this perfect, a palindrome. You know what a palindrome is? It's like where something reads the same way backwards as forwards. Like race car is a palindrome. So it's when, you had ATCCA or something like that, right? So you've got these sections of DNA that are repeating like that, and then between them, separating them, is this completely different thing that doesn't make any sense. It has nothing to do with the repeats. So what they were discovering was what these repeats are saving information. It's almost like backup data inside of DNA. It's like so
it's like a backup.
It's like it remembers something. So think about it like this. I'm going to make DNA. How about this? The bacteria. Say this is kind of bacteria. That is this DNA, right? And it gets attacked by something that is supposed to wipe them all out, right? So if I'm going to further push this analogy, say we've got like the Mongols and like the ancient Chinese, okay? And the Mongols are coming and they're attacking, they're rampaging, they're destroying these poor people, and they're just it's a massacre, okay?
Right.
But the Chinese are putting up a good fight. They're trying, they're doing their best, but the thing is they just don't understand how to beat these Mongols, which really historically happened.
Right.
But the thing is, the Mongols had a trick. As everything really has a trick of how they're actually killing something else, right? So like viruses and things that get us sick, there's always a trick to it. So like cancer, we can't seem to figure out that trick yet, but that's basically where I'm going with this. So there's always some sort of trick, and the trick with the Mongols was they didn't really have an enormous army, they were just freaking fast. They were able to strategically move certain parts of their army to retreat out of one section and appear somewhere else out of the forest, and the Chinese would think, this army's so big, they're everywhere. They're everywhere at once. And they can't possibly have all their armies everywhere when the Mongols specifically tried to attack weak points, and that's how they were able to beat them. So say this battle goes on, and this historically didn't happen, but let's just say all the Mongols are wiped out and one Chinese is left, okay? So this one guy, at that point, since he survived, he realized what the Mongols' trick was. He understands how they did that trick, and he's not going to be fooled by that again. Right? So, theoretically. So, this is that bacteria, okay? We're talking about that bacteria. Say we tried to Clorox the heck out of him, or something natural.
He is the 0.01 that survives the Clorox wipes.
He is the 0.01 that survives that Clorox wipes, and that is the very important 0.01. And this is going to make you look twice at every single thing that says it kills 99.9% of all germs.
Because God.
You gotta worry that last one. You gotta worry about him. That's like I'll be all kind of scared now once you realize what's going on with that one. So that one, he has the answer. Because whatever you just tried to do, it didn't work. and it is not happening again. And that one splits. It reproduces. It's going to make more bacteria, and that bacteria, basically through evolution, is now resistant to that thing. Right. And this has happened, obviously, to humans and all sorts of stuff. But basically, what was in that DNA code that they were discovering was the answers of what they saved through evolution. And if, say, 2 children are born, and one of them is resistant to, I don't know, heart disease, and the other one is susceptible to heart disease, one's going to die, unfortunately, and the other one's going to pass on its genes. And it's going to pass on that data that says I am resistant to heart disease. And that's how this is going to keep evolving. So basically, those little bits inside of the DNA, those random little blurps that are separated between these palindromic short little spurts of code, are bits where the DNA was remembering things of eons past that told you how you operate. And it also shows where you fall short. Because maybe somebody else right now is completely resistant to colon cancer, and you're susceptible to it. We can now do some crazy work to fix that and change things to where that... No, this is actually an amazing thing.
I know, but it's just the way your face is going. As I can see how your gears are going to turn this. Yes, we can use this to help humanity.
Yes, I'm going to start by talking about the great stuff, and then I'm going to be like, but dragons... I know. Does that make me a terrible person?
No, you're fine.
I'm trying my best. Okay, so anyway, so it's evolving over time. We're figuring out how to read these things and what CRISPR actually is. Because the acronym is devised by understanding what those repeats are and looking for those, and it's coming up with artificial code that basically makes a microbiologic pair of scissors. I know I'm botching this. I'm doing my best to explain what it is, but
it's a good visual representation.
Yeah, pretend, okay, you got your DNA code, you just kind of visualize that sucker there, and you got a pair of scissors. That scissors is its own code, right?
Yep.
And that scissors basically goes right in, and it knows, it's programmed. It knows exactly where it's going. And it's going to go right to that set of genes that says you're going to get colon cancer, and snip. It cuts it. It cuts it. It's gone. But you can't just go snipping people's DNA up and not expect problems. So that's like if you got the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which also has a spiral helix on the inside. So you got the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
I didn't know that, actually.
So, well, I mean, the staircase.
Oh, staircase, okay.
The staircase.
I don't know why I literally was thinking of the...
a double helix or something?
No, I was thinking of the Eiffel Tower.
It's okay.
I don't know why, but when you said the Tower of Pisa,
there's a secret helix in the Eiffel Tower, and that's how it stands. No. So there's, okay, say we took, like, one of the supporting stones out of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The DNA, or for this instance, the workers who work the Leaning Tower, are all like, oh god, no, this is awful. They're freaking out. They're like, we gotta put something in here. That's their job. Their job is solely to make sure that darn thing does not fall over.
Right.
Okay? So, wouldn't it be, they're not really gonna ask questions if a perfectly shaped stone is right there, right next to them. They don't know where it came from, but
it could be a different material, but
it could be made of solid steel. It could be something way better, but they don't know that. They just know, hey, it fits, and this thing's fallen. We gotta put this together. And with that pair of scissors, we include a little packet of what we wanted to replace it with. And since the DNA, it doesn't care, it fits. You snip it, and immediately it's gonna say, oh, this is missing. What do I do? It grabs that new piece you just put in, and slam, puts it together.
New DNA.
Boom, new DNA. You can rewrite your DNA. That's basically where the beginning of it is. And current CRISPR technology has pushed it a little farther to do a lot of really crazy stuff. Like, in addition to throwing in that one packet of DNA, it can also pack in another little sequence that is very interesting. Because what's going to happen, say, if you get treatment to make sure that you have the new code that says you cannot get Alzheimer's. That'd be awesome, right?
Right.
Which, by the way, CRISPR technology is super cheap. Like, as soon as this becomes publicized and, like, is actually something we can go out to our doctors and get done, this is only going to cost you, like, $75. $75 American. Like, it's going to be cheap. And they're probably going to be like, oh, would you also like to change your eye color for an additional 10? It's really going to be like that. Though I'm assuming they're going to talk about important stuff, like obviously the cosmetic stuff I don't care about. It's more like, hey, can you stop cancer? Yes. with CRISPR. CRISPR, I will put money on it. CRISPR will cure cancer. Like, it's gone. Because all we need is someone who has the genetic code that is resistant to that cancer. Boom. You can get rid of it. Now, this is a preventative thing.
Right.
It's not like if you've already got Alzheimer's. I mean, I don't know.
It's more like, say, it's it's in your family history.
It's the vaccine. Yeah, it's the vaccine. It's not the antibiotics you take after the fact.
Right. It's like my family has the history of cataracts.
Cataracts.
And I go be like, I'm susceptible to that. Can you snip that out of my DNA?
Perfect example. So clearly cataracts is something that, as far as evolution is concerned, that's something that we don't want. And eventually, if Darwinism kind of takes over, cataracts will eventually be gone.
Right.
Assuming that the people who have cataracts, no offense, don't survive to pass on their genes, and the ones that do not have cataracts pass on the genes that are resistant to it. So what the real problem is, say you get that procedure done where you snip out that cataract's weakness and plug in the resistance. You're like, awesome, sweet. What's going to happen when you have a kid? They've got just a chance of getting it, right? Your genes, I mean, you don't guarantee that your genes are going to be passed on.
Right, it's a gamble.
It's a gamble.
It's a gamble of you and your partner to figure out.
Exactly, you're literally rolling the dice.
Something new.
Now what happens, even if they got it, what happens if they have a kid? See how it kind of dilutes over time? So even if we could be like so great and like trying to fix all these things, eventually it's just going to dilute itself over time. Wrong!
Oh, God.
They figured out how to bypass that.
Oh, good.
Yes! Now, this could be really great or really bad. Assuming, for whatever reason, we found out that by snipping out your resistance to cataracts, we opened you up to some other big issue. And now we couldn't fix it. Even though technically all you would need to do is go back and have another CRISPR operation and boom, you're done. But for the sake of, throwing it on the table, yes, it could potentially be a bad thing. But the way they're doing is they're adding another bit of code when they throw that in there. It's not just saying, give me the answer that is resistant to cataracts. And include this extra bit of code that when reproduction happens, let's not get into the science of this. Yeah, the bow chicka wow. Basically, do the same thing to that embryo immediately. Right? So if that code survives of do this to the embryo, it'll do it to the next one and the next one. Every single time. Guaranteed.
So it'll remember.
It will remember. And it will always be resistant to anything you tell it to be. Awesome. Right? Now, the thing is, CRISPR, right now, we're doing our best to, research this on... you always start with mice. I heard some people are doing it to fruits. There's all sorts of.
You do it.
You do it to anything that
has DNA.
Yes, anything.
Which is pretty much anything.
Well, anything living. Yes. So we're messing with. I could be wrong with the fruits thing. It's been a while, but I'm obviously much more interested in what happens with humans.
Right.
And that's the thing. To get it to humans, just like all treatments, takes forever. And you gotta experiment with it, and you gotta make darn sure it works and it's safe, even though it seriously looks like the clouds parting and the beams of heaven are raining down.
We have found God mode.
We have, yes, we basically found God's cheat sheet. That's what CRISPR is. Or it's like, oh snap, I can do almost anything. And that almost is where I'm going to be talking about this, because I know I've been talking for a while about just CRISPR, and I know you got stuff to talk about, but
good.
Basically, how do we create things with this? Well, we're going to have to start looking back at things that have existed, because that's, first of all, let's just say the only safe area, because this is a new science in its infancy. Let's not try and do something so crazy right now to completely from the ground up build something that doesn't exist. But I'm not putting that out of the question, because based on what we can do now, we can at the very least theorize and assume this will happen in the future. It's like how when Edison is experimenting and he's like, oh, sweet, this little light, I just got it to illuminate because of doing this and this and that, right? He's not thinking, oh, this is going to revolutionize the way that people deliver information, and they'll get it instantaneously on a million of these itty-bitty little dots that is going to share and connect everybody in the world together. Of course not.
No.
So this is going to get way more advanced eventually, and we're literally talking about its baby steps. So Is it fair that I can kind of look forward a little bit with this? I'm doing my best.
Let's skip ahead a little bit.
Man, I'm excited about it. So, to be able to look forward, you got to make sure we understand where we are right now. And where we are right now is we are able to look at the genetic information of anything, right, that we have DNA of, and look at what makes it tick. We have computer algorithms that are running through trying to identify this means this, this means this, this means this, this means your hair is green, this means your eyes are blue, this means that you are going to have pancreatic cancer, this means that you're going to be very tall, this means you're going to have exactly this net weight because of your metabolism, anything. And this could be the gene that says you are going to grow to a certain size, be very hairy, and no longer an elephant, but instead a woolly mammoth. We are, right now, bringing the woolly mammoth back from extinction. We have its DNA.
We do.
And we can look right at it, because now we got the answer. We're looking at it, we're like, oh, hey, it's not dead anymore. We can make another. Now, we can't make the ideal woolly mammoth, because what we would need to do is slowly, one at a time, go back each step in evolution to try and push it closer and closer to a woolly mammoth. So instead, they've got some crazy name for this thing. It's like Mammothant or something like that. Like
that's a very good scientific name for a woolly mammoth elephant combination.
Right, it's a Pokemon name is what it is. It's just take two relevant words, smash them together. There's your English Pokemon name. But say that's basically what they're doing, and they're going to be taking. They are taking the genetic information that we have from the elephant, the closest living relative we have to the woolly mammoth. And we're looking at where they're different, and basically using CRISPR on the embryos of infant elephants.
Right.
Okay? And trying to give them the code of the woolly mammoth to bring it back.
Right.
Now, there's probably some points where, obviously people are either outraged about this or super excited because this could have really bad repercussions. Like, do you really want to introduce the woolly mammoth back into the environment? Is it really doing anything good? But there's a lot of other creatures that, like, have recently just gone extinct that were like, we tried our best to keep these things alive, but we failed. Like, there was some particular breed of rhinoceros that was, some particular breed of rhinoceros that was at the Cincinnati Zoo. They had one of the last ones, and it just died, like, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And that was awful. It was some form of, like, an Asian rhinoceros. And the thing is that we could bring them back, and we could actually repopulate areas of the world with endangered species. This would change so much. Now, it's not making, like I said, it's not making the exact rhinoceros. Right. We would have to pursue to get our way back to making it the same. So these are inevitably going to be hybrids that are closer and closer to their original generation at a time. So we're able to, at this point, start reconstructing these things. And I've actually got a quote here from...
Here comes the quotes.
Yes, this comes from iflscience.com, and this is talking about specifically what's going down with the elephant mammoth, the
elephant mammoth.
Yes. So here we go. Quote. Their aim, a bunch of Harvard researchers, is to use CRISPR, the popular gene editing tool, to produce elephant-mammoth embryos. As reported by The Guardian, the team are essentially at the cell stage, where they are experimenting with various combinations of elephant and mammoth genes. The embryos have not yet been created, but according to the project lead, they are just 2 years away from being cultured. And that is dang close.
That's really close.
That is dang close. Now, think about this. As soon as that, the 2 years are up, do you know how fast an elephant grows? Really like, fast. From this embryo stage? Like, really fast. So, assuming they survive, and I really hope they do. That'd be so sad if they don't. But assuming these things survive, that means by year 3, you got a baby woolly mammoth. It's a hybrid, but you got a baby woolly mammoth, which means, for the sake of what I'm going to be talking about here, is we're going to be taking something that exists, messing with its genes, combining it with something that we have its genetic information for, and kind of custom making something, because that's not truly a woolly mammoth. It's another thing. Now, if I go a little bit farther with that, where would this stop, you say? Because basically we were just kind of covering the revolving door in hell is what I was trying to say. Like, nothing can truly, really go extinct anymore with this idea.
Right, it's impossible. Kind of.
Well, I mean, sort of. It's a big asterisk. But yeah, sort of.
It's like a Lego set. Like you it's like the architecture Lego
so
sets.
Wrong.
Like I go and I see, wow, there's that. I almost said Tower of London now.
Can I stop you? Like, oh my god, this is the definition of playing God, and I'm sure there's so many people out there that are like throwing up every red flag they have.
Well, I got rose-colored glasses, so I can't see those red flags. All I see is I got a Lego set here, and I'm gonna build something with it.
I'm gonna build, and we're not stopping there when we're building something there, because I've got something a lot more exciting that we're building, and it's a little thing we like to call the Chickenosaurus.
Yes.
Okay,
Get to it.
Now this comes from Nature.com. I'm going to just read what they got here. Basically, I'm going to let them speak for me. So, quote, "The field of evolutionary developmental biology, Evo-Devo," this is what it's shortened as, Evo-Devo, is full of such creations, from mice with longer bat-like limbs to fruit flies with torsos segmented like beetles. But until now, the brute tools used to create these creatures have been imperfect. This is about to change. In a paper published online on the 17th of August, this is of last year, 2017, a team used CRISPR to inactivate the genes involved in zebrafish development, resulting in fin tips more like the feet and digits of land vertebrates. So, end quote. So I'm basically saying that they were looking at certain kinds of fish, and not only like they can force something backwards, they can force it in a direction that it was not even supposed to go in.
Oh god.
Yes, okay.
Oh god.
I'm gonna continue from here, quote, "Our ability to access and analyze ancient DNA means that we can now insert genes from extinct animals into the genomes of their living relatives. These hopeful CRISPR monsters could confirm or reject decades-old theories about key elements in evolution and help us come up with new ones." They are, I'm not kidding, look it up, creating what they're calling the Chickenosaurus.
Isn't this I think I've read about this. Is this the chicken with the dinosaur face that they made?
It's not alive yet. No,
right.
They don't have anything yet. But
that was the genes they're trying to make.
Yes. They are saying, okay, so if you take the elephant pushed back to the woolly mammoth as like level 1.
Right.
We're jumping to like level 12. This is way farther, right? This is a big deal because dinosaur DNA is so decrepit at this point, we can't even really read it anymore.
Right.
It's something that only with modern technology or maybe futuristic technology we're going to be able to really piece it back together and understand this thing. But they have enough information about how they moved. We have skeletal information. We have not exact genetic code, but we, as you know, I know you love yourself some dinosaurs.
I know my dinosaurs.
Now, we basically know so much about them now, and we're learning so much every day. Like, we're learning so much about dinosaurs lately, but we're learning so much about them that we kind of know enough to where we know where those attributes and traits and things about them, their biological features, as well as their psychological features of how they operate, we know where they went in evolution. We can find these things and try and piece them back together with an easy-to-manipulate relative of theirs, the chicken.
Yeah,
and
I remember reading about this.
Yes, that's basically what we're doing, and trying to create a new species. We're not trying to go with a specific dinosaur. First, we're like, can we make one? And so far, genetically, that answer is yes. It's just a matter of time because these things need to grow. We're testing because we're trying to make sure that it's not gonna do some weird, awful thing where it just doesn't operate right. And the same thing.
Oh god! I just got an image in my head of like this chicken dinosaur just kind of like globbling on the ground. Like,
unfortunately, if we let them live that long, stuff like that might happen. Ugh! But I mean, now think about this. I mean, even when we were testing with like growing humans in like test tubes and in vitro
back
fertilization,
when we first started cloning stuff.
Exactly, and cloning. Which, by the way, there was this recent experiment done by a group of Chinese researchers where they are actually able to clone successfully a group of, I think, chimpanzees.
Really?
Very close to humans, yes. And that's interesting.
That's very interesting.
That is very unrelated, but very interesting. So, say we're at this point where we're able to look back, piece together this genetic information, and try and construct something. Yes, right now, like I said, we're kind of at the point where people would basically be freaking out about, like, right when, you know, the human cloning concept showed up, or when people were saying, like, test tube babies, people were freaking out. But now,
playing God thing.
But now it's different when, you know, someone's like, oh, well, I know someone who was born that way. You know, it's not like, are you going to yell at them and say that they don't have a soul? And like, okay, it's totally...
No, they're not gingers.
It's different when you're looking at a person.
Right.
You know, then it's different. And when you're looking at actual living creatures, hopefully people aren't going to do the same thing. I really hope they won't, because this basically is saying eventually we will have a Jurassic Park.
Right.
This will go that direction eventually.
I will have the first ticket to that Jurassic Park.
Yeah. I will quit my job. I will work there. Please, I don't care if I have to scoop Velociraptor poop and run in there and go, hey, down.
Hey, who has the diarrhea?
I'm going to be the guy with, like, one limb who just, like, hobbles on, like, thigh down to my knee. And that's all I got left. Anyway, so... basically, that's where we're at in terms of, like, genetic manipulation and, like, creating things. So what I'm really interested in hearing about, Matt, is if that's what we can make, and that's where we are now, we're on the cusp of something crazy.
You want to know what Lego pieces we need to use.
If we got creative, what Lego pieces could we take? And if not just take, create. Or try and take parts from certain things that may not go together and put them together. Because, for example, I know in the field of, like, just biology in general, a blue whale, for example, which has enormous bones and it's so big.
Right.
If something the size of a blue whale tried to move on land, it would actually collapse. It would crush itself. The only way it's able to move around and swim is because the water makes it weightless. It's not dealing with all of the mass that it really has because the water is holding its weight for it.
And that's kind of where I'm going to go, except I'm not using water.
He's not using water. Nice, because I was going to say, if we needed to, because of that zebrafish little tidbit from the quote, we can actually, it doesn't matter where they come from. I mean, hopefully, if they're related enough. Like, clearly, if I tried to put, you know, information from a banana into you and try and tell half of you to be a banana, you know, that's just...
My skin's peeling.
you see what I mean, though. It would cause really, like... we're gonna try and be safe and stick with the close relatives, which is why they're doing the base model with a chicken, right? It's like
right. I don't want elevated potassium levels. I'm just saying that now.
Well, it's like their template, you know.
Right.
They started making a new WordPress page, and they were like, instead of me trying to hop into Dreamweaver and custom script my entire website, which is basically what we're saying of like custom scripting, custom creating creatures and monsters. Let's start with the template first. Make sure we know the template. Let's reverse engineer the template, because we didn't write that template.
Right.
Like, that was just nature did that. And as soon as we understand how to code that, and we're really good at that, which I bet it'll happen eventually,
we'll make our own website.
We are making monsters. We are making monsters. All right, so what do you got?
Okay, well, first I need to ask, I gotta use my phone for this, because I'm gonna ask you some biology questions.
All right, I'll do my best. Like I said,
they're not really hard. They are not really hard.
Okay, he's springing these on me. Granted, in the last episode of Pokedex Paradox, I was springing some black hole questions on Kim, so feel free. I deserve it.
So here's my first question.
Yeah.
How much does a giraffe weigh?
You know, I bet I know where you're going with this, and it's gonna be a lot less than I'm expecting. I'm still gonna...
I'm going with a male. Full-grown male.
Okay, full-grown male. That's so big, though. That's so much meat. I'm still gonna say at least... at least a ton. At least.
No. Well, maybe. Because here's the thing. If we're looking at a full-grown male giraffe, you're looking at about 2,600 pounds.
Okay, I was really close.
You were really close.
Yay!
Now, I'm a big, as you know, I am a very, 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 very big Godzilla fan.
Yes.
And the main thing you always hear of any Godzilla fan is, oh, well, that can't exist. It crushed under its own weight. Mm-hmm. Which is true. But to an extent.
Yes, to an extent. Can I jump in a little bit?
Go ahead.
If Godzilla, the way he is now, like, you take the one from the recent movie you saw, any Godzilla. Okay, I don't know about... Okay, not any Godzilla.
Right.
But let's just take the normal, what you would expect Godzilla to be, and you put that creature in the water, that can totally happen.
Right.
Like I said about the blue whale, that can happen. That's perfectly fine. That's not violating anything. The problem is, as far as we're concerned, and I know you're about to violate this, as soon as that sucker steps on land, the bones, the way
would collapse.
The way that a bone works and how really fragile they are, it would just shatter. It would crush itself because the muscles and the scales, it's all just too heavy.
Well, here's my next question for you.
Yes.
What is the largest dinosaur we know of?
Oh, I know you know this.
It's a sauropod.
Really? I would expect it to be something underwater.
Nope. It's on land. And it's one of the largest. I won't say the largest.
By largest, you mean like weight?
Weight and height.
Because I knew there was some enormous ankylosaurs. Oh, no. Oh, gosh, I don't know the exact name of these things, but I forget its name. But it's like a... Was it the Brachiosaurus was the one that was like taken down? But
close. It's the Argentinosaurus, which is like a
That was its name. The I remember... I knew it was something long. I should have started guessing it, but yes.
Here's the thing. That weighs about 130,000 pounds.
Holy crap.
And that walked on the Earth. You can't sit here and be like, oh, no, it's crushed under its own weight. No.
Well...
It walked on the Earth.
The thing is, but... That would say that Godzilla, his weight can go up to that point, right?
Right. I'm using this as my limits.
I got you. Yes, sure. But also, it distributed its weight very evenly, and it had a solution to this problem, because it's not just like it was a long, flat, like, ankylosaurus kind of monster. Where it walks on all fours and has a very heavy club tail, and it's very flat. Right. So it's not like its weight is evenly distributed like that. It doesn't have that advantage. This thing stood upright.
Right.
Though there's some theories, actually, I don't want to keep cutting you off, but there's some theories, you probably heard about this, about sauropods not holding their necks straight up, but actually
they didn't
out
hold
forward.
Them straight up. They hold them forward.
You say that, but people are still fighting about this.
There's nothing to fight about. If you put it on a balance thing, it's going to go...
Oh, I know. But I'm just saying, people are, like, hardcore fighting about that.
Well, my favorite one, not to go off topic, is plesiosaurs, because like all Loch Ness fans are like, no, plesiosaurs have like that swan neck. They're like, no, literally, that would break their neck if they did that.
That would bust their neck. No.
But anyway, the whole point of this is we're talking about what a wyvern would need to fly. So let's give us like a general idea.
Oh my god, you're already
of a
jumping straight to flight. I thought you were gonna be like, couldn't even stand.
Well, kind of. This is why I asked you the giraffe question.
Okay.
You know, I'm sure you know of this because you're somewhat of a dinosaur fan. You know of Quetzalcoatlus.
Yes. That's, wow, good point. Yes.
You know that's the size of a giraffe.
Yes.
Here's the thing.
Huh.
How much did that thing weigh?
I don't know how much it weighed, but that sucker was huge.
That's
basically, for those of you who aren't familiar with it's basically a giant pterodactyl. Right. Just envision that in your head. This sucker was huge. It also had teeth, and it was a meat eater, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, these things were terrifying.
Well, it kind of had teeth. They had, like, swan teeth.
Yeah, right. But
have you ever seen a picture of a swan with teeth?
Yes.
It's terrifying.
God, I don't want to go. But that thing is terrifying. It is a terrifying pterodactyl.
It is. But here's the thing. Its weight is only... Because we only have 2 partial skeletons where we can kind of guess it.
Oh, I hope it's not going to turn into... What was in a pad...
No. We know it's its own thing.
Okay,
we know
cool.
for a fact it's its own thing.
Okay, cool.
But the thing is, at full weight, the best estimate we have at the heaviest is only 540 pounds.
Oh, okay.
And that's the size of a giraffe.
Is that the largest known flying creature?
Heaviest,
so. As in?
Heaviest, I believe.
Okay.
So, but here's the point I'm getting at, is
That's
we got to talk about bone structure.
1,000 pounds.
Yes.
Can you imagine that just dive bombing you? Oh my!
Just out of nowhere.
Oh my god.
But let's go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to call our wyvern Craig.
Okay.
And we're going to build him.
Okay.
So, let's talk about certain things.
Can I call him Phil?
Yes, let's call him Phil.
Okay, I like Phil.
Let's talk about Phil the wyvern.
Phil the Dargan.
Phil the Dargan.
Phil the Dargan.
Now, obviously, we can easily say, just because Argentinosaurus, that's something the size of like a Rathalos or something, or Quetzalcoatlus, that can stand on land, regardless of the weight.
You can rule out the fact that the bones will not collapse themselves, right?
Kind of,
okay.
Because this is where the other thing we got to go into is in order to fly, you do kind of have to obey the laws of aerodynamics.
Yes.
So, and also there's other contributors. This is the whole thing. It's all about the skeletal structure, and this is what's weird.
Yeah.
Because when I was researching this, there were certain things that they showed me that I didn't even think of in order to fly. So let's focus on the bones. We're going to start with the legs. Now,
yes,
your legs need to be strong.
Yeah, that's what I'm most concerned about.
So chances are those legs, because this happens in some birds too, are not hollow bones. They are solid bone.
That's interesting.
Because obviously that's, if you're going to go swooping down to grab a fish or something, you can't have brittle bone disease in your legs.
That's true. You know, thinking of like an eagle swooping down and pulling up like a giant salmon.
Right.
That thing's got to have some serious...
Now, there's different kinds
muscle,
of support, like there's arch support and all that, but that's regardless of the point I'm talking about.
Okay.
Now, we have our legs.
Yes.
That's adding to our weight.
Yes, that definitely adds to your weight.
Now, we can go ahead and say for our wings of Phil, that those can be considered hollow. Because, obviously,
yes, because the wings will not... I was going to say the wings will not support the weight, but if you are trying to generate your own lift, then they will.
Hang on. That's further down the road.
Okay, I'll be patient.
I'll drop the bomb that I didn't think of when I get to the whole end of it.
Okay.
Of how this thing could fly.
Fair, okay.
Alright, so now we got our wings. Yay! Now, let's pretend like the whole Los thing breathing a fireball.
Okay.
We have been hit by that fireball before, and it sends you flying.
We're talking about the video game.
Yep, we're talking about the video game. So let's say this thing can shoot an explosion at you.
Yes.
We know the rules of force. Like, if I'm standing with a fire hose and I fire that fire hose, it's going to push against me the same amount of force it's pushing out.
Good point, yes.
So, we got to take that in consideration. I need a strong skull and a strong neck and a strong spine. Chances are those won't be hollow because, obviously...
That and, yes, and your weight is now another factor.
Right.
But, for an option for fire, because I think we touched on this a little earlier, because there are some creatures in the wild, like there's certain beetles, I think, I don't know if you researched them, but there's particular beetles that'll actually, from what it looks like, shoot fire out of their abdomen.
Yep.
And what they're actually doing is, at the same time they're spraying this liquid fume, they're igniting it with their back at the same time, and it turns it terrifies. Of course, that's an awesome defense mechanism.
That's an amazing defense mechanism.
But the thing is, you take that idea, as long as it has fuel sacs of some sort that it can access, maybe these fuel sacs go all the way down through the neck and into the chest and maybe help it, like, generate lift. Maybe they're very light or something and combustible. It could be gaseous, and it needs to be able to spray this out of its mouth, exhale it, and ignite it.
Yep.
That's...
But here's the thing, because I'm gonna need your CRISPR soon.
Okay.
So now we have skeleton Phil. Phil's a happy wyvern skeleton right now. Now we got to figure out, okay, we got to give him some organs.
Yeah.
Now here's where creepy things come in, and I didn't want to learn this stuff. Birds are creepy. I don't like birds anymore. So, you know how birds, like, you may not know this, birds breathe differently than we do. They don't have an abdomen to push the air out. What they have, and this is really creepy, are air sacs.
I didn't know that. I know that their hearts beat at an incredible rate.
Right, so that's another factor.
Yeah.
But here's the way birds breathe. A quick gesture. I'm probably going to butcher it a little bit because, like I said, this is some research I did.
That's cool.
When they breathe in, it goes past their lungs into a set of air sacs in their back. They have like 6 of them. 2 in the front, 2 in the sides, 2 in the back.
That sounds like an alien. That's just
so it breathes in. And here's the thing. It has to be efficient because if you're flying, you need air to those. You need air in your blood constantly.
Good point. Okay.
So, obviously, it breathes in. It sends the air past the lungs. Now, here's the thing. When it exhales what's in its lungs, but at the same time, it's pulling what's in those back air sacs into the lungs. Because it's pushing it out.
Okay.
Breathe back in. It's just like an endless loop cycle.
Oh, so it's a loop. Okay.
So,
that's weird.
That's the part I had to figure out, is how does that work? So
right.
we got like an endless loop cycle, which helps oxygenate your blood. And obviously, since you're filling with air, you're slightly a little bit lighter, maybe like a little tiny bit.
That's okay. I can follow you.
But here's the thing. Like when I was a kid and I heard about pterosaurs having air sacs in them, my idiot butt thought, oh, it's like helium and they fill up and they just float away. It's not like that.
Right. Now you're talking about straight up alchemy.
But it could be.
What?
It could be.
How? That's alchemy.
Not yet.
Well, actually, or it could just be chemical reaction. No.
I'll explain.
Okay.
It's not hydrogen. We're looking at oxygen.
Okay.
So, anyway.
Or helium, you mean.
Now we got that. We got our strong heart. All that normal biology stuff.
Okay. Rathalos's chest is not that large.
Nope.
Really. Which actually...
Well, think about most birds. They're not really big-chested.
I mean, some of the big ones are, but as soon as you see them expend their wings out, then they are.
Well, that's the other thing.
I think the biggest thing that's really going to hurt Rathalos, where we're going down here, is his tail. Unless it's solely as a counterweight to help him stand, I don't know any birds that are like that. that intentionally have like a very heavy, like an ankylosaur looking spiky
Well, here's the
tail.
thing. Like, this is completely, once again, going back to Monster Hunter. I'm trying to avoid that.
That's cool.
But when you see Los walking around, he's not walking like a normal wyvern where he's using his wings as his hands.
Right.
So his tail is counterbalancing his upper half when he's walking.
It's counterbalancing the two wings.
Exactly. But once again, that's probably a thicker bone and a heavier bone to help do that. Also trying to cut the tail.
Yes.
So, but anyway, now we got some organs in us.
Yes, okay.
Let's put some skin on. Obviously,
do we have muscles? Because the muscles alone, the weight of those muscles are going to be frightening, especially in what's the big meaty wings.
They are, but here it's going to get more terrifying because there's a reason why I said a living furnace Boeing 737.
Oh,
747.
I forgot about that.
And this is where I need your CRISPR to help.
Okay.
So, we got that. Let's put our skin on. Now, if you're looking at a wyvern, especially like any wyvern you see in any kind of history or anything, you'll notice that the wings are streamlined. So it's not really, like, how do I describe this? It's not like an oval design. It's more like a obtuse triangle. A cute triangle.
Yes. Or isosceles.
Yes. The reason it's built like that.
I love that word.
it's like a seagull. It's built mainly for high altitude gliding and speed.
Right.
It's not meant for flapping like a crow.
You're I know where you're going.
Yeah.
I see where you're going.
So now we got the design of our wings. Here's the part where I'm going to need your CRISPR and the suspension of disbelief.
You want bat wings.
No.
Really?
I'm talking... The wings are fine. Like, I got
Because I was going to say, bats, they've got wyvern wings.
They
and
do.
we can see how they work, too. And you would need to cross... That's a mammal and a reptile.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing I'm going past.
Yeah?
Like I said, we're kind of looking at this more of a what the hell kind of moment.
Okay.
Because we have the wings. Like, yeah, we could put bat wings on something. We could do that. But it's still too heavy to fly.
Yeah.
It's too heavy to get its butt off the ground. Unless you use those air sacs. I'm going to ask you a question. How do hot air balloons fly?
They're constantly heating the trapped air that is caught underneath the balloon, and the heat is...
It's different air density. Now, let's take
the air
a moment.
density pulls it up to a higher altitude to where it needs to level off and reach the point where it is equal. Temperature-wise, the temperature is going to tell it the height that it needs to stop at. So you're telling me Rathalos is not only going to be constantly breathing with those air sacs, but he's also going to be using them thermally. That's insanely hot!
Yeah, but how hot does the bombardier beetle shoot its liquid out at?
I don't know. How hot?
Pretty dang hot.
Okay.
So
I was gonna say,
let's get a little bit crazy.
Let me get a quote there for you. It's pretty dang hot degrees.
Now here's where we got to get kind of crazy at.
Yeah.
We're gonna say just because it is a wyvern.
Did you find something that does this?
No, but I found the possibility you can do this.
Oh, okay.
Like humans have a
as far
internal
as CRISPR goes, that's all it needs.
Right, and this is where I need your CRISPR. Humans our internal body temperature is around 97 degrees, around 98.
If you're any higher, please go to a doctor.
Yeah. But what if we change that part of our DNA? What if we snip that out and say, I want my body to be able to withstand a body temperature of like 1200 degrees Fahrenheit?
Well, okay, you'd have to do a lot of work.
Right, like I said, this is way in your future.
Right, okay, because I was going to say that you'd have to basically Darwinize a human so that its blood cells operate differently, its organs operate different.
Yep.
That's a lot of work.
It is.
But the thing is, there are creatures on the world, I know, that live in insane temperatures.
Well, I'm going to tell you one right now. It's not really a living thing.
Like deep sea worms. Like we've got some things that live in like volcanic, deep undersea, super high pressure, super hot locations on the planet. And you look at it like, how on earth do you physics?
Yep. The one main thing is seaweed.
Seaweed?
There is a type of seaweed that can get its internal temperature up that high.
What?
Yes. And the reason it does this is to float.
Oh, that is so...
Now,
okay.
So say we have Phil here, who is an internal furnace because obviously he's a dragon.
I never thought you would grab something from a plant in order to make this guy fly.
So he breathes in. Now, since that air inside of him is heating up and less dense than the air outside of him, he's getting lighter and lighter. But let's just say for suspension of disbelief, he's still having that one trouble of actually flapping and getting in the air.
He can only like glide off a mountain and then he can get going. But he can't just, as we see Rathalos in the games, from standing still, not even running, no cliff, just starts flapping those wings and he's in the air.
Yep. So, but there is something else Los does that makes this more believable. There are two ways of attaining flight. Well, three technically.
Oh.
One is by getting a start and getting lift under your wings, aka planes.
I think I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going.
Los has this one attack. Yes.
Two is either jumping off, like, say I climb a tree, like I'm a little dinosaur, and I glide.
Yes.
Third is what Los does, and refers back to the whole...
Now, he doesn't do it every time.
Not every time,
but he does do this.
But this would get you in the air.
This would work, yes.
You're already heating up. And say I do have... We find the genes that can somehow combo this to shoot a ball of fire. Explosive fire with huge amounts of force.
Yes.
That force is now pushing against you. Also, when that fire hits, it's hitting the ground, which means hot air rises.
You open creating your wings. An updraft.
You open your wings while internally your lift, you're in the air.
That is
now you can fly and glide. So you can theoretically do this. Now, we got to put some suspension of disbelief, like increasing internal body temperatures, stuff like that.
Got to be able to survive that. But can I interject something real quick that I thought of? You totally just invented the flame sack. You know the Monster Hunter item?
Oh my god, I did.
You just invented the flame sack and proved how it would work. But anyway, continue.
Now, of course, there are problems with this. One being the internal temperature. Two is bones melt around that temperature, so you'd have to figure out a tougher bone structure.
Or material.
Right.
Because a bone doesn't need to be like that. Like, think of insects. They don't have bones, they have exoskeletons, and they are built out of completely different materials. Like, it's not a bone.
Right,
you know?
It's not a bone.
So, it's not like, you know, like our teeth are bones for convenience because our body's already using that stuff, right? It's not like, you know, your body doesn't know that there might be a more efficient material for creating your bones.
Yep.
Unless you went in there and snip
and snip with
just
your
happened
CRISPR.
to tell it, like, hey, put this stone inside that tower, and it's like, huh, you know, the tower seems to be able to survive gale force winds right now. And sonic booms. It seems to be cool.
It's doing quite well for itself, I must say.
There was a tornado, and everything was knocked down except the leaning tower of Pisa.
Now, can we make it not lean? No, that's going too far.
No, don't you dare.
Don't do that. So
that's going to stop so many people from doing their stupid postcards of, like, leaning in the foreground.
Oh my god. As a photographer, I hate that.
I know, me too.
I hate forced perspective.
Whatever, just continue.
So I'll finish up here. So
let's wrap up.
We can theoretically do this.
Yes.
Like,
that's scary.
It's like, imagine a giant living zeppelin.
You know what also you created? You created Charizard. You're creating almost any well, okay, Charizard has an extra set of limbs.
Right.
But still, like, that's another hurdle to jump over, but still we're of course jumping over a lot of hurdles here, assuming that we are going in the future to be able to create these things.
Well, and here's the other thing too.
This means so much more than just Rathalos.
Oh, it does. Like, say I want a water dragon. Okay, it can now control its buoyancy by either releasing that hot air to go down.
Oh my gosh, you went way too far with this, didn't you? You
like,
made it like a flying...
like it's one of those. I'm a huge fan of jets, planes, all that. You know this.
I know.
But I never thought of the hot air balloon until I was reading this one article on NBC.com.
Yeah.
Because they were like, you know, maybe Game of Thrones dragons could exist. And of course you have the scientists like, no, that's not possible.
Right.
Unless you prove that biology does not care about physics. Like, it doesn't. Think of everything throughout evolving. We don't care. We evolve past things because it's like, oh, physics won't let me do that. Yeah. Let me just walk around that.
Right.
And that's what's terrifying.
Exactly. And the whole, I want to go back to the very beginning to explain how that works. Physics would say, you know, the rules of physics would say that this Clorox will kill 100%. It will kill all of the bacteria, right?
Right.
Except, or the Mongolians will kill all the Chinese, except there was always the one that could survive. And it doesn't care. It has different genetic information. Biology does not care what the previous rules were. It can evolve past that. And that's
what's scary.
That's frightening. And the fact that we now have that answer sheet, we have that cheat sheet, and we can start messing with that, we can create monsters. And now, do we want them? We should have asked that.
The ethical questions.
We should have asked that at first. Oh, heck no. Well, except I
Well-
want a Jurassic Park, and I want a Monster Hunter World theme park. I mean, like, come on, that's so
Can we just
cool.
have these one things? Like,
Can we just this one thing? I don't care if they all break loose and kill 100,000 people.
think how cool the carnage would
Okay,
be.
I'm sorry, I was joking. Matt wasn't.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
But anyway, I think we kind of covered everything about creating monsters. This is another huge episode, and of course, the DU Physics always, we just dig so much into the science of things because this is so interesting. And there's actually several other Monster Hunter themed ones. If you guys want some more Monster Hunter ones coming up in the future, we will be doing some more.
Yep.
Also, Matt, I know you're going to be coming back on some more future episodes. Thank you so much for joining me for this one. But for now, that is all the time we have today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to join us next time for some more game science. Be sure to follow us either on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And we will see you all in the next episode of Do You Physics. Bye.
Bye.